Basic psychology, memory. The multi-store model of memory. Have you heard of the multi-store model of memory?
Yes, I have. It's a model that explains how our memory works.
Exactly. It's composed of 3 stores: sensory memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory.
I remember now. The sensory memory has several stores for each sense, like the iconic register for vision and the echoic register for sound.
Yes, and the sensory memory is not under cognitive control, so the information received is raw and unprocessed.
That's right. If the information is given focused attention, it moves to the short-term memory.
The short-term memory has a limited duration and capacity, with rehearsal maintaining information.
But the information is still vulnerable to being forgotten due to decay or displacement.
Exactly. If the information is rehearsed and processed deep enough, it passes to the long-term memory.
And the long-term memory has unlimited capacity and duration, depending on the level of processing of the information received.
That's right. While encoding for the long-term memory is mainly semantic, the short-term memory encodes acoustically.
And retrieval of information from the long-term memory occurs through information passing back through the short-term memory.
The multi-store memory model evaluation. Glanzer et al.'s research demonstrated support for short-term and long-term memory being different stores. They found that earlier words were more likely to be recalled, known as the primacy effect, while later words were still within the short-term memory, known as the recency effect. And delays of 10 seconds or more before recall resulted in only a primacy effect, with only long-term memory affected. This highlights the difference in short-term memory and long-term memory, supporting the theory.
I read that the prefrontal cortex is seen to relate to short-term memory while the hippocampus is associated with long-term memory, supporting the model's idea of different memory stores.
That's correct. And the model is supported by amnesia cases, as patients have been found to either lose their short-term memory or long-term memory abilities but not both, showing both memory stores are separate as the model proposes.
What about the weaknesses of the model?
One major weakness is that in real-life memories are created within contexts rather than within laboratory-based experiments, which the multi-store model of memory is heavily based on. The research findings lack ecological validity due to the artificial settings from which they were gathered and therefore external reliability to real-world situations as results may differ. Types of long-term memory. Long-term memory is divided into 2 main types. The first is declarative memory, which is conscious memory. It helps us recall facts and is subdivided into episodic and semantic memory.
What's the difference between episodic and semantic memory?
Episodic memory consists of memories of our personal experiences and thoughts. It's usually based on events that occur in people's lives. On the other hand, semantic memory contains knowledge, facts, concepts, and meanings that individuals have learned.
Are there any brain areas associated with these types of memory?
Yes, the prefrontal cortex of the brain is linked to the initial coding of episodic memories and consolidation and storage associated with the neocortex. Semantic coding is mainly associated with the frontal and temporal lobes, and there's an opinion that the hippocampus is involved in semantic long-term memory.
What about procedural memory?
Procedural memory is a skill-based memory and focused on recalling how to do something. It's usually learned through repetition and practice. Language is believed to be a procedural memory as it helps individuals speak using the correct grammar and syntax without having to consciously give this thought.
That's interesting. Is there any brain area associated with procedural memory?
Yes, procedural long-term memory is linked to the neocortex brain areas within the primary motor cortex, cerebellum, and prefrontal cortex. It's different from declarative memory stores as it does not rely on the hippocampus to function. Types of long-term memory evaluation. Sarah, have you ever wondered how our brain stores long-term memories?
Not really, Jenny. Can you tell me more about it?
Sure, research evidence supports the case for there being three different memory stores associated with long-term memory.
What are they, and where are they located in the brain?
Brain scans have shown three distinct areas being active, with the hippocampus and other parts of the temporal lobe associated with episodic memory. Semantic memory has been associated with activity in the temporal lobe, while procedural memory associated with the cerebellum and motor cortex.
That's interesting. Are there any case studies that support this theory?
Yes, case studies such as H.M. Milner 1962 support the case for procedural and declarative memory stores being distinctively different. H.M. could not form episodic or semantic memories due to the destruction of his hippocampus and temporal lobes. Still, he was able to form procedural memory through learning how to draw figures by looking at their reflection.
That's fascinating. Are there any weaknesses in this theory?
One major weakness is that this study is based on a single individual, making it difficult to generalize the findings to the wider population. Another weakness is the lack of research into brain areas involved in procedural memory.
Interesting. Are there any other case studies that support this theory?
Yes, support for semantic and episodic memory being separate comes from Bakari et al., 2007. A case study of a young girl, CL, who suffered brain damage after the removal of a tumor found deficiencies in the ability to create new episodic memories. However, she was still able to create semantic memories, supporting the theory that they are separate.